Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Agent of WROLDE, number 3 from Scout Comics, written by Dennis Camp, with artwork by Philosophers and lettering by Hassan Otsman El How. This book has been blowing me away. 3 issues along. There's one more issue to go in this volume, with hopefully a second volume on the way, because this book has been blowing my mind. It's got high concept science fiction. It's got deep, intricate, highly detailed and textured artwork, amazingly crazy intricate coloring from Jason Wordie, and Hassan Otsman El How doing some really interesting things with the lettering. This is every member of a team working diligently and so enthusiastically to pump out one of the best comics of 2022. And I know it's still early, but it's in October, and us comic YouTubers got to start thinking about this kind of stuff. This is right up there with one of my favorite comic books of this entire year. I think what Dennis has been able to do with this story, telling something crazy high concept, but also having it be grounded, having it have this sense of a somberness to it, right? As well as chaotic hilarity. Hilarity? Whatever. It's also really absurdly fun. And it's got some high concepts. It's absurdly fun. It's got intricate, detailed artwork, when the line work for sure, and with the coloring, and the lettering is like innovative as well. This is absolutely top notch. Also, our good friend Brian, the Brianiac, Brian with the B, he actually bought the original art for this cover at Heroes Con, so we got to see it. This original cover art is only like this big. It's like not much bigger than what you see here. Amazing what Philosophers can do with his artwork, and I know that over the years it's just gonna get better and better. This book blows me away. It's amazing. It's got some great subtext. It's got a great message, but overall it's just a fun, absurd, high concept comic book that is ridiculously awesome. This book slaps the slaps. Stop saying slaps. Okay, we're just going to stop saying that. And also from Scout this week, we got Forever Forward, issue number 2. This was a pretty solid issue. I actually liked it a little bit better than issue number 1. This is from Zach Kaplan, who does really great sci-fi comics, right? He's got one we're going to be talking about in a little bit. But this one is about this dude who's developed a time travel device. It has gone off and it's taken him and the people closest to him in the vicinity of him, and it's shunted them off into the future. But in order to get back to the past, they are being given these messages from themselves in the future, allegedly going back into the past, telling them that the only way to go back is to go forward. So they have to keep jumping forward. And it's also giving Zach Kaplan an opportunity to kind of play around with the whole idea of what is the future of Earth, the future of humanity, right? So it's got that H.G. Wells time machine type vibe to it, but it's also really kind of fun. Artwork's pretty solid, but Forever Forward, it was a really solid second issue. Let's go over to DC Comics, where we have Batman One Bad Day, The Penguin, issue number 1. This one's written by John Ridley with artwork by Jepsy Kamenkoli and Cam Smith. I liked this one. So far, I haven't really liked the One Bad Day stories, and what they're trying to do is, what if we gave all of the Batman villains their one-shot, their Joker One Bad Day, which is the Killing Joke, Batman Killing Joke. What if we did one of them for all of them, right? The Riddler one fell flat for me, and the Two-Face one didn't really work either, but this Penguin one actually does work. At first, I thought it was going to be kind of just an average story, and in reality, it kind of was. Basically, the Penguin's been ousted from his place as the top of the criminal empire in Gotham, and having absolutely nothing, we see him rise back up and take control again. But I really did like what it did, and with the character of the Penguin, and how it reinforced a group of figures around him to make it more than just the Penguin and his organization, but now we are actually given a chance to get to know some of these other characters, and I really, really liked that. I appreciated it. The artwork's simple, tells the story, does its job, and gets out of there. I actually really liked that book. Then we got GCPD, The Blue Wall, issue number 1. This is also written by John Ridley. It's got artwork by Stefano Raffaele and Brad Anderson on the coloring. I liked this one too. It comes across like a pretty decent start to a new police procedural TV show or something, right? So it's about these 3 straight from the academy new police officers, right? They're friends, but they all get sent to different areas of the city to do different jobs, and we're getting to see the streets of Gotham from their perspective. We're getting to see the police force in Gotham from their perspective. So it's trying to do what Gotham Central did, and one issue in, it's not quite there yet, but I did like the world it was building, the world it was exploring, and I liked these characters, and I thought that John Ridley in both of these books did a really great job of pacing this story, structuring it really well, and really solid dialogue. So even some of the more wordy pages, they read very fast because the dialogue's very true and honest. Then we got Nightwing issue number 97. Loving Nightwing right now. There was a moment where I felt there was a lull. I think it's because they had to tie into Fear State. They had to do that crossover with Superman, Son of Kal-El. But ever since then, this book has been able to hone its focus back into its own story. And all the blockbuster stuff wrapped up in the last issue. So where do we go from there? Well, it gets crazy frantic here in these next issues. I loved it. In this one, you got Boss Maroni having to be taken to Gotham for witness protection because Gotham's where you want to take people to protect them from crazy people trying to kill them. But Nightwing and Batgirl are tasked with doing it. There's some really great character moments in here. The artwork is amazing. There are a few pages in which Bruno Redondo has someone come in to do the inking for him. And it's solid, but it just really lets you appreciate the line work and the ink work, digital as it may be, that Bruno Redondo does in the pages of Nightwing. This has been one of DC's best books, as well as this one. This one's really gearing up. Batman Superman World's Finest, issue number 8. Mark Waid, Dan Mora, Tamara Bonvillain. Dan Mora, one of the absolute best artists in superhero comics today. Tamara Bonvillain, one of the absolute best colorists in comics today. When they work together, it works so well. And then Mark Waid, of course, has such a deep knowledge of superheroes and superhero mythology and the lore and everything like that, the continuity, if you will. And he's able to reach deep into the past and tweak it and add new elements, right? In the first arc, he added new elements that are erupting into this Lazarus Planet story. And in this one, he's introducing this Boy Thunder character, and that's a really interesting story. I'm really into the characters. When this book first started, I said it felt a bit overstuffed, like they were trying to have too many guest appearances in each issue. Mark Waid has found a way to really balance that out, have a central focus on the story, create something new, but also have these cameos, these guest spots, and it works. I love this book. Artistically, it's beautiful. Story-wise, very intriguing. Then we got Flashpoint Beyond, issue number 6. Wow, I loved this issue. What a satisfying conclusion to this whole story. Flashpoint Beyond works on a few different layers. First of all, it's just a really cool return to that Flashpoint universe and a continuation of it. Like, where would things go if it was allowed to exist and continue to just, tell stories in the world of Flashpoint? So we get a really good detective story focused on Thomas Wayne Batman with personal ramifications for him, and a really satisfying conclusion here that leaves some things open that I would love to see developed further as we go along. Then it also it serves as like a guidebook to the hyper time and how that's tied in with the metaverse concept and the divine continuum overall. So it's doing things with that, and it's also setting up all of this stuff that's about to come from the new Golden Age and the Justice Society book that Jeff Johns is doing in the Stargirl series. I'm really excited. There's some new concepts introduced here in this issue. I loved it. I thought this was a crisis level type story, but told in a very small and personal kind of way. I absolutely loved Flashpoint Beyond every issue. They nailed that ending. Then we got Black Adam issue number 5. This is another book that I thought started off just a bit shaky. Sometimes with Priest books, it's hard to get into it structurally at first because he likes to do this non-linear type things, and he likes to throw back and do these jarring switches between scenes. But once you kind of get into it, it starts solidifying, and that's what's really happened over the last few issues of Black Adam, and I loved issue number 5. You got some great moments here between Black Adam and Batman. I was all for it. We got a Black Adam movie coming soon, so it's good to have a Black Adam title on the shelves, and right now we do. Then we got Flash 787. This was a great self-contained one-and-done story that felt like something from the best superhero comics of the 90s, and I mean that in a positive way. Basically, there's this multiversal wrestling league that somehow manages to make it onto Earth Prime, or whatever Earth it is now in the DCU, and Wally West gets caught up in it. He goes to try to save the day, stop all this property destruction, and winds up getting in the midst of this tag team championship. And it was really fun. It was loud. It was boisterous. It was silly. And it was just good, solid, old school comics. Then we got Deceased, War of the Undead Gods, issue number 3. Wow, I loved this issue. We get a little bit of action on Ran. We get a little bit of action on Thanagar, and more of an exploration and explanation on how this anti-life equation has gone beyond Earth and has gone and morphed and evolved into something actually more of a larger threat, and now has continuously come back to threaten Earth. I love what Tom Taylor's been building up with Deceased. Could have just been simple DC zombies, but it's actually something more than that. There's a core of truth throughout the entire series that rings true. The characters work, and there's some interesting things. And in this kind of world, you get to do different things that you can get away with in the mainline continuity. And DC's War of the Undead Gods has some amazing concepts, some amazing character moments, and explosive artwork. I loved it. Then we got Duo, issue number 6. This is the final issue of the Milestone series. Duo, it was about these lovers, this like boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. I think they're husband, wife. I know, whatever. But they're lovers, and they're working on nanotechnology. There's an accident. They were sabotaged. One of them dies, but her essence gets absorbed by the nanotechnology, which goes into the dude, which saves his life. But now her consciousness is in his head, and they're sharing the same body, so it's portraying this shocking sense of new intimacy that they have. I think they worked that out really well. This was a really solid comic book, kind of like middle of the road, but it wasn't bad, it didn't suck, and it wasn't like overly great, but it was incredibly solid, and I would love to see this get elaborated on a little bit, maybe in a volume 2. Then we've got Aquaman Andromeda, issue number 3. This is the final issue of the Rom V Christian Ward series. I believe Bidikar is the letterer. Yes, Diddy Bidikar is the letterer there. I really like the conclusion of this. When it first started, I was like, so this is Aquaman in Sphere. And it kind of is, but it's got this very distinct Aquaman Atlantis DCU flavor to it, and I really liked it. Even though it's an Aquaman story, there is more of a focus on other characters. Rom V fleshes these characters out really well. I love his approach to making Aquaman this like mythical character, and Black Manta is badass in this book. And the artwork is amazing. It is beautiful, some great colors, some great big layouts, great use of the space on this Prestige Plus format. I thought that was a very solid ending. And then we got Rogues, issue number 4. Speaking of solid endings, this is an ending so solid, I don't know where to go with that. I thought I had something, but my brain left me. So anyway, Rogues number 4. This is the final issue. Leah Max doing the artwork here. Joshua Williamson doing the writing. It's the Rogues out of continuity in a heist movie. That's what it is. The Rogues are older. Captain Cold convinces them to go on one final job into the heart of Gorilla City to steal all of Gorilla Grodd's gold. And it's got some interesting interpretations, like Gorilla Grodd's more like an old school gangster, right? Like in one of these old heist movies, like the OG Ocean's 11 or something like that. But it works, and the characters, what's so great about it, and what's so great about great characters and good fiction and good settings is you can shift that setting, put it in a different type time period, a different type vibe and feel, maybe even more of a brutal and graphic kind of feel, and that's definitely what's going on in the pages of Rogues. But it still translates. Those characters are still those characters, just in a slightly different setting. I loved it. This was a super solid ending, and this was the best DC book I read this week. Let's jump over to Marvel. And from Marvel, we have Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue number 1, written by B. Earl and Taboo of the Black Eyed Peas, with artwork by Juan Ferreira. And y'all, this book was awesome. The artwork in this book is amazing. Now, I've been a fan of Juan Ferreira's artwork for a while, and I don't know why they still haven't put him on a big key flagship book, because he can do it. In fact, if I ever got to do my 5-year run on Blade, I would want him as the artist. There are some great psychedelic, nightmarish images in here. The story's okay. It's like Peter Parker's over on the West Coast working on some kind of sonic experiment. It's a little vague. But I'm glad, because I didn't need too much mumbo jumbo there, or whatever, you know, just colorful. What the hell? Like, what do you call it when so colorful, like purple prose, when someone just talks too much and you're like, who cares? Let's just get to the story. Anyway, Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So I just completely derailed myself. So he's on the West Coast. He's working on something. He's got this like rock with these carvings on it or something, and there's something appealing to him about it. He like keeps looking at it, trying to figure it out, and honestly, it's really unclear on what's going on, but it seems like it's affecting him mentally, and it's sending him into these like nightmarish visions. But y'all, the artwork in this was absolutely amazing. The story was good. The way it wound up at the end, I was kind of like, I am on board for this. It's not going to like change your life or blow you away completely, but the artwork will. The artwork in this book is freaking amazing. Wow. That was great. Coloring, everything, but Juan Ferreira is awesome. Thought that book was really good. Then we got Crypt of Shadows issue number 1. This is a one-shot because it's Halloween season. So we got some of these Halloween special themed kind of things coming out. Crypt of Shadows was all right. It didn't really do much for me. There is an Adam Warren story in the back with X-23 and Man-Thing, and I really liked that. I thought for Adam Warren, it was really interesting artwork that really did some interesting things and different than what we normally see. We have Ibrahim Mustafa doing some artwork too in a Morbius story, and that's cool. But all in all, none of the stories really stood out. There's a Bloodline story, the daughter of Blade, so if you're interested in that character, get a little bit of her, but none of the stories really stood out for me, except for that Adam Warren one. So it's $6. If you're a super hardcore Marvel fan and you love Halloween, this, of course, is kind of a no-brainer, I guess, but I would highly encourage you to check that one out if you want something a little bit more darker. And of course, we got Midnight Suns issue number 2. This is setting up like an upcoming video game, but it is set in the Marvel Universe. It's not set in this video game reality. I don't know. It's just not working for me. Midnight Suns typically references like supernatural threats, supernatural characters. So you got Blade. Okay, you got Magic. All right. You got, what's her name? Something Laveau. Zoe Laveau from Strange Academy. Okay, that's fine. That works. You got Agatha Harkness. But then you got Wolverine in here. Magic, like I said, that works. Spirit Rider. I don't know. The team's just not really doing much for me. This is mostly a big fight with Doctor Doom. And I still was just kind of bored with it. So I don't know. I didn't really dig on it. Then we get Carnage, issue number 7. That's a fire cover. Because he's on fire. Carnage in Hell is what this is. So Carnage is in the Asgardian Hell. Trying to kill Malekith or find Malekith to do something for him. Rom V's been doing some interesting stuff with Carnage because it's not a take on Carnage we have ever seen before. And the symbiote is separate from Cletus. Cletus is actually just like somebody, like a voice haunting this detective's head. And then the Carnage symbiote's with a serial killer. And he's taking him to all these different places. It's basically like he's absorbing different abilities or powers from different entities, like cosmic entities even, and it's obviously gearing up for something. So it's not the Carnage book I'm expecting, and at times it kind of loses me, but I liked this issue, and I'm trying just to be a little bit more open-minded with it and just enjoy the ride and see where we're going, because I trust Rom V, but I did like this issue. I just wish we had a little bit more, like a darker art style, something a little bit more, I don't know, like more spotted blacks, a little bit more horror inspired, something like that. Then we got Thor number 28. This is the conclusion of this Thor Venom story. It's written by Al Ewing, co-written by Donny Cates, but it doesn't have that flavor or vibe of Donny Cates' Thor. So I just didn't really like it. It's kind of like the last issue. It's more about Al Ewing playing with some ideas from the Venom run that he's doing right now, and I'm not completely sold on the Ewing half of that Venom run, so I didn't really like it that much. And then we get the announcement that the next 2 issues are written by somebody else as well, even though Nick Klein's coming back. It's like, Donnie, what's up, man? You got Hulk, you got this. Come on. Can we, come on. I'll be excited when Donnie comes back fully focused and able to do some Thor. So that's going to be cool, because that one was kind of let down, that 2-part story. Then we got Moon Knight issue number 16. This is a book that's been getting away from me. It's a book that started to get a little bit boring for me, but they kind of bring it back in, right? We're building up momentum into a big confrontation with this whole vampire stuff that's been building up since the pages of issue 1. I wish we would get back into the idea of more like self-contained stories as part of the larger narrative, but the artwork was great. And I think this was some of Cappuccio's best artwork on this series in the last, like, half a year or something like that, right? So I thought this was a really solid issue. I liked where it was building us to, and I thought the ending was very strong and enticing me to come back and continue to read Moon Knight. So Moon Knight number 16, I thought showed a lot of improvement on the recent months. And then we got Miracle Man, the Silver Age, issue number 1. I've never read any of the Miracle Man stuff by Neil Gaiman, so I didn't read this, but I just wanted you to know that it's here. The long-awaited Miracle Man, Silver Age number 1. Now, I do believe that Mark Buckingham, I think, redid, because I think they did 2 issues of this or something. I think he redid the artwork. I think he did. I'm not completely sure. Somebody in the comments let me know. But this is basically book 5 of Miracle Man. So if you're not, I don't know if this is a good jumping on point, but there is the trade paperback of book 4 and the omnibus, which will collect books 1, 2, and 3, all the more stuff. That comes out like next week. That being said, I just wanted you to know it was here. Long awaited. I think issue 3 of this is where we get new material. Again, let's jump over to Image. We got The Bone Orchard Mythos, 10,000 Black Feathers, issue number 2. We were shorted cover A, but that's a cool Danny variant right there. I really like this book. I think it's super solid. First of all, Andrea Sorrentino has amazing artwork, switching between styles. Sometimes you can look at his work and be like, okay, he's just a one-trick pony. No, he's not, because he can switch that style, he can do something different, and it's tonally appropriate for the scenes in which he's doing it for. Jeff Lemire's also crafting an interesting story. All these stories are kind of connected into the same reality, the same mythology, but they all have their own identity in a way. I really like this. It's about these 2 friends. One of them turns out she's missing or murdered or something, so the other friend is trying to solve the mystery or whatever, but meanwhile, we're telling the story of their friendship and how their friendship kind of soured for a bit. So basically, they're standing around together for a long time, spending a lot of time together, plotting out a ripoff of the Dark Tower, and I think that's also alluding to the idea that Jeff Lemire's got some heavy influence from the Dark Tower in this. I cannot wait to see where this whole thing goes, because I just love it. If Lemire and Sorrentino are on a book together, it's going to be one of the best damn books on the shelves. I guarantee you that. Above Snakes is here with issue number 4. It's penultimate issue. The only bad thing about Above Snakes is that it's going to end, right? They could have done this for 70+ issues, just telling self-contained, one-and-done stories about vengeance in the West, right? But instead, we're getting these nice, short, sweet stories that are all connected, and there had been a moment where I was like, where are we going structurally here? How long is the series? Is it a 6 issue? Is it whatever? Now knowing it's a 5 issue, we're gearing up to the conclusion. I'm pretty sure it does. It is the conclusion. Just bear with me for a second. Yes, the thrilling conclusion next month. Now all of these pieces from the previous 3 issues all come together and have twisted and turned the story into what is a great setup for that thrilling conclusion. So once again, the only bad thing about Above Snakes is that it's not going to last forever. However, Sean Lewis and Hayden Sherman working together, they can do that for as long as they want. I'll buy every damn thing they do. Above Snakes number 4, Slapped. Oh, we were supposed to not say slapped anymore. It's over. Got to put $1 in the slap jar. Public Domain is here. Why am I being so silly today? Public Domain is here with issue number 5, Chip Zdarsky's love letter to comic book creators, and kind of shedding some light on the humanity, the more human side of the argument about creators' rights and evil corporations stealing publishing rights and stuff like that. But it's about this dude, very much a Jack Kirby type figure, who didn't get to have that great of a relationship with his sons because he spent too much time behind the drawing board. And now, after this crazy stuff that's been set up, he's got the rights to his character back. But this is a story about family. Cue the Vin Diesel cameo. We need a Vin Diesel something to put in there. Anyway, Public Domain, though, is a really great book that shows a lot of heart and a lot of love and care about the comic book industry. I'm loving this book. Chip Zdarsky's great. Then we got Silver Coin issue number 15. This is the last issue for a while. Michael Walsh has an announcement here. He's expecting a baby on the way, so he's taking a little bit of time off for this. So what this is a conclusion to book 3, if you will. And at the end of every 5 issues, we have Michael Walsh come in and just do a tale that ties all of these stories kind of together a little bit. And this one really starts tying some stuff together, and I liked it. I thought it was great. Silver Coin's a world where this silver coin shows up and somebody sees it and they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's got this weird eyeball on it, but they still think it's cool. And then bad shit happens to them, right? That's just the way it goes down. And now we're getting a little bit more of that interconnectivity thread throughout. This was a really solid issue of Silver Coin after a couple ones that just were kind of okay. Gunslinger Spawn number 13 is here with just a great tale of revenge in the Gunslinger universe. Javi is on a mission and he ain't taking no prisoners, man. He's badass. I love Gunslinger Spawn. Brett Booth's artwork in this book is really cool. And Todd McFarlane, I think, is doing some of his best scripting. I'll be honest, sometimes his stuff's a little bit verbose, sometimes very clunky, but Gunslinger Spawn is the book that was made for Todd. The dialogue flows, the pacing of the story flows, and Brett Booth really knows how to break all that down. So I'm loving it. $2.99 cardstock cover. Marvel? DC? Okay. Just making sure they were still quiet about that. Mindset is here with issue number 4. Another cool comic from Zach Kaplan. Great sci-fi writer, and I love Mindset. It was kind of compared like The Social Network meets Mind Control or something like that. It's about this dude who develops an app. Him and his friends develop this app. The idea is to free your mind from influence of social media, from social influence, right? But the way that it works is they find like the right combination of light and sound that enacts mind control, right? And so this is about the rise of this app in popularity and all the backstabby, twisty shit that happens in the midst of all of that. And I'm loving it. And then you've got John Pearson on the artwork, just experimenting his heart out, like doing amazing layouts, great composition, switching different styles, switching media that he's using. I love the book. I think it's amazing. Great double-page spreads. A great way to tell the story. I am entranced. I am engaged immensely in this book. This book is meticulously crafted, and it shows. That care absolutely shows. That's one of my favorite books out right now. As well as this one, The Shaolin Cowboy, Cruel to Be Kin, issue number 6. Sadly, the penultimate issue. But man, this book started off with this little like Hitler dwarf-looking thing connected to this giant jellyfish chasing Shaolin Cowboy, and then a giant flock of birds. And now it's you wouldn't think that it could get weirder than that. It does. It gets really weird in this book. How do you describe a book like Shaolin Cowboy? Well, I don't know if you really can. Intricate artwork, incredibly detailed. Some of the best artwork you will see on the comic book page. Amazing coloring too. Dave Stewart needs like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different assistants that are credited here because the line work is so intensely intricate. Like, holy cow. But the concepts, this is just theater of the absurd. This is Jeff Darrow taking his love of kung fu movies and his love of westerns and combining them together in this ridiculous, satirical, nonsensical, incredibly fun comic. It is wild. People just all of a sudden turn into giant centipedes. Giant pigs are out looking for revenge, but still complaining about their health care and their criminal organization. It is such a wildly fun book. There's nothing else like it. There is nothing else like Shaolin Cowboy. Ever. Nothing else. Hellboy in love here with issue number 1 of 5, even though this is the start of a 2-part story. It's weird how they'll do that sometimes with these Mignola-verse Hellboy miniseries, where they'll be like, this is a 5-part series, but we got 2 stories we're telling. And all right, that's cool. But it's basically Hellboy and this chick who apparently is a Yankees fan, so I'm cool with that. But the book starts, and they're on a train. The train gets attacked by these little goblins. Goblins steal this case with some ancient relics that she has. Hellboy's supposed to be looking out for these goblins, so now they have to go off and find these relics, and they're starting to develop this little flirtation. And it's cute, and it's fun. And what I really like about it is Matt Smith is the artist here, and he does a really fine job. But Chris O'Halloran, who is the colorist on Ice Cream Man, is doing the coloring here. And Dave Stewart has pretty much established the color palette of a Hellboy comic. And Chris O'Halloran is honoring and respecting that, but doing something different with it. Doing something interesting. Adding some of his own choices in, but the end result is still really cool. There are moments where these bits of sky with this really, really intense purple, and it works. And I don't think I've ever seen any coloring like that in a Hellboy book, and it works. So it has that Mignola Stewart feel, but Smith and O'Halloran are doing it their way. And I really, really like that. Then we got True Cult issue number 3. This is from Scott Bryan Wilson and Liana Kangas. We got to hang out a little bit with Liana Kangas at the Memphis Comic Expo. She's always super cool. And this is an awesome book. It's a dude who... It's about people that have shitty jobs, right? And this dude works at like basically a burger joint, but he is so gung-ho into it, right? He's an assistant manager. He's drinking the Kool-Aid, right? But he's still trying to better himself. And in the first issue, he goes and tries to rob all of the stores at the strip mall next to him. And he makes out with like $47 or something, right? Then somehow that brings him into this crazy story where he's got this new prospective employee who was there for an interview. They're now wrapped up in this satanic cult that are sending them to this Scientology type place to break in and kill their leader. This book's wild. It's funny. It knows what it is. It knows what it's doing. And it's a book that winks at you, and I really, really like it. True Cult, awesome. And also, Liana Kangas, one of the coolest people in the entire industry. Then we have Crashing, issue number 2. This is from IDW. Matthew Klein, Morgan Beam, Triona Farrell, Hassan Osman El Hal. I was rather impressed with the first issue of this. It's about this. It's about a doctor. She is a recovering addict. She was addicted to pills, but she is a doctor in an emergency room in a world populated by superheroes where there's this political movement going on right now, spearheaded by her husband, where there's this movement, though, trying to ban unregistered superheroes. That whole kind of story that we've gotten before. But in the midst of this, she is just a doctor trying to do the right thing, trying to help people, and still dealing with this. You know, she's been clean for so long, but she's presented with these intense situations, and the temptation is there. So I really like the personal nature of this story. I love the artwork. I love the lettering. Absolutely amazing. Hassan Osman El Hal, best letter of 2022. Nobody's disagreeing? I agree. All right, Crashing, really solid book. Continuing the momentum built on issue number 1. It's big at times, but for the most part, it's a personal story about recovery and insane superheroes. I like that. Alpha Beta's issue number 1. This is the first comic from Whatnot Publishing. It's based, I think, on a web series that I'm not familiar with. That was created by Chris Bruno and David Lee. It's written by Kyle Starks with artwork by Michael Calero. It's very much got this like Rick and Morty kind of art style and even kind of intensity and kind of pace to it. But it's about these people are just playing a game. It's like they're playing a game, they're in there, they're chatting, they're talking. I'm not that much of a gamer, but it was still kind of fun. So I think if you are familiar with this series, if you're into gaming, if you're into stories about gaming, you might want to check this one out. Alpha Beta's number 1 was a solidly made comic. And as far as Whatnot making a comic, it's $3.99. It's got good paper stock. It's got good cover stock. It's got bright, vibrant colors that work for the paper that it's printed on. Huh. They know how to make a comic. Interesting. All right, from American Mythology, we got a couple silly little Halloween specials. Hatchet, Halloween Tales number 4. Every year we get one of these Hatchet Halloween Tales, just a bunch of short stories set in the Hatchet universe. if you are the most hardcore Hatchet fan, like to the point where you own all 4 of the Hatchet movies signed by Adam Green. I don't know anybody like that. That's me. That's me. That's why I like these books. These books are not good, and this is probably the worst one yet. But I have fun with it. But it's not good. It's just silly, silly-nilly, brutal fun for fans of Hatchet. So there you go. Then we got Night of the Living Dead Revenants. I was like, what is this? What is this? So this is what this is. This is a retelling. This is a comic book adaptation of George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, but it's filling in some of the backstory on the other characters. Like we in Night of the Living Dead, you get the story where Ben tells about the gas truck that hits the gas station and blows up or whatever. They show that here. So while what's going on with Barbara and Johnny is happening, they're showing the other characters. They're showing their journeys and how they correlate. So that's actually pretty interesting. It wasn't the greatest, I'll be honest with you, but I thought it was an interesting approach. So there you go. 2 silly one-shots that are only for hardcore fans, I would say, for Hatchet and Night of the Living Dead. And yes, you know I'm excited for Silent Night, Deadly Night. For real. I hope there's a Linnea Quigley cover that we can get. And then finally, let's talk about Dynamite's Mad Balls versus Garbage Pail Kids, issue number 4. This is the final issue, and I love it. I loved the Mad Balls when I was a kid. I loved Garbage Pail Kids, so this is just tickling all of that nostalgia for me. And it's just fun. It's just having a ridiculous amount of fun with these 2 franchises. And in all of these issues, they arrive in the same neighborhood, and they don't like each other. In each issue, they wind up getting this, like, these fights or whatever. And then this one is obviously the resolution to everything. And it was a really nice resolution. Plus, here for the final issue, they're showing even more Garbage Pail Kids and even more of the Mad Balls, doing some deep dives into those brands. And I think that's awesome. I love the artwork. It's gross. It's silly. It's fun. Sounds like Mad Balls versus Garbage Pail Kids. Exactly should be. So that's what I read. That's what I thought about it. Agent of WROLDE, though, was absolutely amazing. Let's see. If I had to do a top 3, and you let me know, what are you reading? What are you digging? What are your favorite comic books right now? Ooh. Oh, this is hard. I can't do a top 3. Da-na-na, da-na-na-na. Dun 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 ba ba dum 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 ba dum ba dun 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 ba dun 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 ba dum ba dun dun. I'm trying to get you guys a top 3. All right, here we go. Let's see. All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How about a top 8? At number 8, we'll go Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Totally worth it for the art. 10,000 Black Feathers, that book's awesome. Above Snakes, come on, I don't want it to end. Mindset, that's a really clever, interesting story. Rogues is fantastic. Shaolin Cowboy, because nothing else is like it, and it's ridiculous. Flashpoint Beyond tickles that fanboy inside of me, but the pick of the week was Agent of WROLDE, issue number 3. Might be the pick of the year. I'm loving this book. This issue, by the way, structurally, it's going to be a bit challenging. Trust me. Get through it, and then reread it. And then maybe even want to experiment in which order you read it in. That might be beneficial too. This book's awesome. Anyway, that's been the weekly comic book review. That's what I'm reading. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcast blogs, merch, and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop. Boom!